Science presupposes the intelligibility of reality. Science considers itself to be progressing and self-correcting precisely because it has an ongoing faith in this kind of ontological goodness, that reality is intelligible. Now, there's no scientific experiment or argument I can run to show you that. Right. It is a fundamental presupposition for why science succeeds and progresses. That's just one instance of the good.
So this is an axiom, right?
Yes.
I guess of science, perhaps, that there is
it's an axiom of the ancient meaning of science, scientia, knowledge. This is Plato's claim that knowledge, right, is dependent on the good. And if reason is ultimately about this knowing, this contemplative knowing, right, this transformative, ecstatic knowing, then reason is bound to this love of the good.
Yeah. So this ultimate axiom, in a way, perhaps, of scientia, as you said, that there is I guess a perfect fidelity between intelligibility and reality.
There's a fidelity as long, and that's a beautiful word to use, as long as you don't conflate fidelity with accuracy or certainty, because Plato is not making those enlightenment in the European sense of the Enlightenment. He's not making those. He's not seeking computational certainty. He's seeking perhaps another kind, but he's not seeking that. And he definitely doesn't mean accuracy because of what we've been saying, right? So fidelity
like
is
harmony, or
no. I like fidelity. I like fidelity. Yeah, because fidelity means, like, when you're faithful to your spouse, it doesn't mean that you have a total, final, precise, absolutely certain grasp of them. In fact, if you claim that, you will kill your relationship. You will throttle it. What it means is that if you comport yourself, if you get ratio religio to this person, you will, there's a promise that you will be able to go deeper and deeper into them and let them deeper and deeper into you, reciprocal opening, and that promise will be kept insofar as the relationship is good.
Right. So again, maybe this is just a lens that I have, but I always find my thinking grounding out kind of in a Darwinian worldview to some extent. This seems, and please, I would love to hear your feedback on this, where I'm wrong or otherwise. There seems to be a through line of fitness here as well, right? That,
yes,
like beauty, what we tend to find beautiful, typically, a beautiful woman or a beautiful landscape or a beautiful plate of food. It's something that, it's fitness points for us, right? If we can get that thing. With truth, it seems more like the fitness element is innovation, perhaps, like the more of a grip we can get our knowledge onto reality, the E equals MC squared or whatever. It gives us this new ability to grasp the world and maybe change the circumstances we live in. And then goodness too seems to be like that intuition. You were saying that guiding intuition for, I forget the mathematician you mentioned earlier, where he just thought the mathematics were better, right? There was more goodness in them. So is this related to fitness somehow? Or again, if we're asked that earlier question, like, are we describing?
I think we are, but again, I mean, one of the things you could do a skeptical turn and say, right, it's evolution and the world is as it is, and we're only seeing it through a very distorting evolutionary lens. Or you can say, well, the theory of evolution depends on the true, the good, and the beautiful, and therefore on the good, capital G, in order for you to trust it the way you're trusting it, in order to make pronouncements on all of the rest of reality. And just stop and think about that. What is so good about, well, it's true. It's not just true, it's elegantly true, and it's a good theory in that it has many of the theoretical virtues, right, etc. So in one sense, I agree with you, but I want to challenge people who will take that evolutionary argument and then use it to drive a kind of hermeneutics of suspicion and say, no, no, we're trapped inside some kind of simulation, and we're only seeing, you know, some distorted part of it. When of course, always claiming some other thing is actually giving us access to how the world is. Right? And so, well, the world isn't really like that. Well, how do you know? I mean, and how do you know that evolution is true of the world? Like where are those claims coming from? Where are you standing to make those claims? And also, here's the thing, and Schindler is trying to get us to see this, right? Again, about the part and the whole, right? And at one point I want to talk to Spinoza, because I think Spinoza gets this most right. But if you think that partial knowledge is not knowledge, if you equate partial knowledge to an illusion, you are really trapped. Because Plato has another dialogue, the Meno, and it's classic Meno's paradox. It goes like this. Suppose I represent knowledge with just a letter P, some knowledge, right? I'm going to go searching for that knowledge. I don't have it. Well, if I don't have it, how will I recognize it when I see it? And if I have enough to recognize it, why do I search for it? I already know it. And so it looks like you can't ever learn anything. There's Meno's paradox. And the way I think almost everybody comes out of, and Plato gives us that for a reason. You have to consider that partial knowledge is nevertheless a contact with reality, if it is disposed towards seeking the whole. But if you say, oh no, evolution only gives me this aspect and this aspect, right? And it's like, okay, but are those aspects veils that I'm trapped behind, or are they just aspects and I can gather other aspects and I can start to trace out the through line of reality? So you have to be really, really careful about what you do with this. And what if, and we talked about this last time, Robert, what if some of our best science says, hey, you know, the principles of cognition, they're very, very similar to the principles of evolution. There's variation, selection, there's random noise, and there's a reproductive sensory motor cycle. And, you know, and that mimics biological evolution. And I was just talking at the Institute for Art and Ideas with Lee Smolin, and he thinks that we can actually apply the evolutionary model, right, to fundamental physics, that the universes actually evolve. And, you know, it's like, wow, if that's the case, then far from this being some truncated thing, it's actually plugging me in potentially to the fundamental grammar of reality, like biological and physical. And then you realize, oh yeah, right, if logos and ontos didn't share principles, then if they didn't co-participate, then I would be trapped. But maybe they actually fundamentally share principles, and therefore I'm in contact. That's how I want to respond. So I think evolution is one of the great theories, because it brings together the nomological, the law-like kind of that you get in science, and the narrative, the individual causal pathway that you get in history, and it brings them together. It's a special kind of theory, and it therefore may be disclosing something fundamental about intelligence, life, and even the fundamental structures of physics. And that's exciting.